All right, let's take one more video into this here and just look a little further. Okay, before we move into the next level of the videos from the series that I've recently uploaded. This monatomic gold video number 3 is going to be a joy for me to do. Because, for me, I know that I don't face an easy road. Not just with the simple fact of the road that I've already traveled, trying to put all this together in words that you guys could understand, and to maintain a consistency of this from one video to the next, to allow you guys to see what the fractal really is. It has been an enormous undertaking for myself. Okay, but the road that I'm really talking about is what comes after all this. Okay, for me, because obviously, I've basically let these people know exactly who I am, where I am, what I am. They know, and they already have a plan for what is to come of me. But that don't bother me at all, because you also know Jesus Christ has a plan for what will become of me. And you already see it happening. So I welcome it. I welcome the day that they, decide it's time for their encounter of me. I wait for it. You better believe it. I'm ready. So let's take a look at what you see here with the tears once again. The Ra set, the Ra establish. This picture is going to have everything to do with it. It has everything to do with those two columns that we were just looking at. The unification of those two columns of the beauty, okay, right there, beauty, and the beast. That would be the Boaz, okay? Now, of course, this is the Royal Arch of Freemasonry. Many of you are familiar with this diagram from my video entitled July equals Sacrifice, in which I successfully predicted that there would be a sacrifice in the month of July. And lo and behold, that coded movie theater shooting took place exactly when I said something like that would. And I said that it would be all connected to this New York City, destruction of New York City, which you know by the movie The Dark Knight Rises is all about Gotham City. And then for Gotham, all you have to do is see the anagram. Gotham, okay, the fictional city of Batman, is really an overlay of New York City. So when you say Gotham, you really see the outright anagram of Gotham. Gotham. And of course, you know that they consider Jesus to be the earth pig. Okay? And as you know, that this is this conspiracy, this sacrifice is aimed at what they consider the non-believers in their gods. And of course, that would be all of us that are the children of Jesus Christ. Okay, they consider us the non-believers in their doctrine, in their law. Okay? So, yeah, please do consider me a non-believer in that, because I absolutely am. Not only am I a non-believer in it, I'm going to overthrow it with the power of the Spirit of Truth. And then bring back the actuality of the reality of the perfection of truth through Jesus Christ on this world, after your philosophical mess is long gone. Long gone. Ishtar shall perish. Plain and simple. So we see Jachin. Notice here that, all of the titled applications to this column here. We've got it representing the South. We've got it representing the white. We've got it representing beauty. Remember, I think it's in chapter 11 of the book of Luke, which I have yet to talk to you about this particular verse here that talks about the queen of the South shall rise with this generation in judgment. Who you think that queen of the South is? Who you think that queen of the South is connected to? She's going to rise in judgment. Well, that's Revelation 12 once again. That is good old false Israel, connected to this descendancy that stems from these original daughters of men from Genesis 6. All right? There ain't no stopping this. Ain't no stopping it. Even if you think that you're going to stop me, you're not. You might be able to stop this channel. You might be able to stop YouTube from operating in such a way to where people can readily absorb this information. But you better believe the Spirit is already overcoming that also. So let's just give you just a little background here to let you know that I'm not just talking hot air here. Jachin and Boaz. Once again, this is the Holman Bible Dictionary. Jachin literally means he establishes, and you see Boaz being quoted with agile. All right? Very, very important. You can read it as you like. Of course, it's associated with the Temple of Solomon, which I told you is their house of serpent wisdom, which is exactly what this Baphomet character represents. It represents that wisdom, because as you know, Baphomet and Sophia, the Greek word for wisdom, Sophia, no wonder, associated with the sacred feminine, they're one and the same. So this sacred feminine, wisdom, and Baphomet are exactly the same. Now, how do you understand that? Well, you already are beginning to understand that. What did I tell you that the two columns were? They were a unification simultaneously of the beauty, those fair, white, ruddy ones, with that black, darkened beast. Right? That's right. And then we see this unification of what that is. Notice the breasts on this individual. Notice the fallen symbolized angel wings. Of course, notice the occultic terminology. Notice once again the two opposing light and dark serpent influenced polarities coming directly from the phallus, the penis, the obelisk region of this abomination of deity here. It's the very same thing. It's everything that we're talking about. Okay, and then you say, okay, well, Kurt, this is not a serpent like you're saying with Boaz, means beast. Well, it doesn't just mean serpent. It represents an abomination of a beast. And of course, the unification with man, with the fallen ones, represents an abomination of a beast. And there you see it represented here with this female-like figure associated with this goat-like figure. But the serpent is there. The fractal will always fulfill. Always. So if we need to see the completeness of this fractal for Boaz representing this agile, cunning serpent, well, there it is, all coiled up here, right? At the base of this rod, which represents the genetics, it represents the caduceus, it represents this representation of the potential of the dust of the earth. And of course, we know that that serpent is going to eat the dust of the earth all the days of his life. And here we see the serpent with his eye right there. And that eye just so happens to be a number 6. But could that eye also be seen as the letter G? Not only for geometry, but for Gimel. And then Gimel is Gamal. In Hebrew, that means camel. Well, it represents the number 3, but we see that this symbolism carries on to the symbolization of a camel in the most ancient of records of Jewish history as it retells the Garden of Eden event. So we see the letter G, we see the number 6, we see the nostril area of the serpent, and then of course the open, gaping mouth of the serpent itself. Okay, now there is other portions that supposedly are represented over here, but just simply to see right now this in its most simplistic form, that this is that unification of those two columns that were basically infused by temptation that we see recited in the Garden of Eden event. And then this is the abomination of the occultic symbology, the translation of that coded story right before your eyes as this sacred feminine Baphomet. Okay? Pretty important. Pretty important, because it's that, let's go to right here. You can read this as you like. Notice that the two columns, to most people, if they've done any research in this, are immediately going to find the connection from Solomon's temple. Well, where do they come from before that? All right. It says analogous pillars have been found in front of temples in Khorsabad, Tyre, Paphos, and other places. Notice the word Tyre or Tyre. And then you have to remember what I've showed you in the book of Hosea as it recites Ephraim shall be, it says Tyrus, as I saw Ephraim, shall be planted in a pleasant place as he brings his children to the murderer. And then I told you that Tyre is associated with Dan and the locust. Okay, so we see that the same two columns are found within temples at Tyre. And then we see that Tyre is now recited from the seer's mouth, Hosea, as he recants this association that, of course, those of Tyre are also planted in a pleasant place, but Ephraim is planted in a much different place than they are because they're under the North Pole, the dance. We see that Ephraim has decided to go to the dark side of the moon. So there's your fractal assimilation with everything that we're talking about. Everything that we're talking about here. It says it is possible that they took on some symbolic religious significance. Really? Possible? You don't say. Well, I wonder who you're writing for. All right. Nonetheless, you can begin to see so much more. You can begin to understand so much more if you stop listening to agents and you stop trying to believe that you yourself are some sort of God and following that freaking temptation. If you're God, tell me what I'm going to have for lunch. Tell me. Okay? You can't do it. All right? Because you know God. All right? You are the potential for the perfection offered from God. But yet, at this point, that potential is absolutely unrealized and has become stifled by the temptation of the serpent, who has promised you some sort of shortcut to perfection by using the knowledge of evil simultaneously intertwined with the good. That's not how it's done. That's not how it's done, friends. So you might notice this like I've noticed this. And they think that, oh, nobody can break our codes. We're so smooth and we're so slick and we're so agile and cunning craftsmen, right? Well, I'm a craftsman too, but I'm not a stone worker. I'm a woodworker, and I know how to bring out the luster and the high figure of the reflection of truth from this rough material. That's right. So I've noticed that these people say something. I've seen them say it on supposed Christian channels, in talking to the maker of the channel, which is really not a Christian, which is really a Masonic secret society agent that is posing as some sort of outward Christian to you, which is really steeped into this Gnosticism that you see displayed to you with this black and white checkerboard, right? I see them say this. They say 1 + 1 = 1. And they think they're so smart. 1 + 1 = 1. Well, you already know what the 1 and the 1 is, symbolically, at least from the terror destruction of our world. That's the two towers. That's them bringing down these two towers, okay, which they believe is the separation of them from their God, right? They want to unify with their beast. They want to unify this black and white, this descendancy, this special hereditary inheritance with this beast. They want to bring that together. Well, here's your 1. Here's your other 1. What did I tell you that man was? 5. And then I told you that devil is 6. 5 + 6 = 11. Go watch the video series, Ye Shall Know Them by Their Fruits. Well, many of them will try to tell you that no, man's number is 6. The potential of man's number is 6. But at its first inception, it's number 5, my friends. It's number 5. Okay, and then the 6 for the potential of man represents the 6th sense, which represents these powers that they believe that they're going to get if they just follow after this serpent doctrine. Well, guess what? I don't follow after no serpent doctrine, and I got some pretty heavy duty powers, and they ain't coming from no freaking serpent. They're coming from the spirit of truth. And as you see, it sees through everything of their deception. So when they tell you that 1 plus 1 does not equal 2, that it equals 1, there's their 1 right there. There's their 1. So as they're trying to bring, just like those 2 triangles of the Star of David symbology, they're trying to bring these 2 together. Now, when I tell you that the 2 columns are associated with the Star of David, that represents this seal, which represents this polarity, which separating the waters from above, from the waters below, ordained by God. They don't want that separation any longer, right? And that these are the ones that are supposed to do the work. All along, in association with what they're showing you, are the ones that are supposed to be connected to the terrorism. Of course, as you know, with this Muslim conspiracy. But as you can see, the Muslim conspiracy is directly connected to their history. And of course, this individual here would be showing you Moses in a different form than you've ever seen him before. And there he is upholding his little rod of Hermes, his little caduceus that his God has ordered him to make. See that? And then, of course, as you know, they're all connected to Saturn. Wow, Bill. Wow, Mr. Occult Science 101. You really got it together, don't you? You really got it going on. What did I tell you about the Star of David and the polarity of these columns right here? What did I tell you? Seems somebody else is trying to secretly tell you as well, right? Seems their secrets aren't too well kept. So, my friends, I would consider this more or less more of the fractal that is going to fulfill and show you the truth. I'll be back.